Welcome once again to Tom's Hit Parade. Well, I was snowed slash iced in here at home for a few days, so got a little bored, so I decided to make an extra episode for you and upload it to you. And today I'm going to do something I haven't really done much of yet, and that is reviews of new releases. I'll be reviewing 3 albums, and in fact they're just about the only 3 new releases I've picked up this year so far, the first 2 months of 2018. And I'm probably not very good, at least I don't think I'm very good at reviews, at least in terms of telling you what something is like, what something sounds like. I love listening to music and I like talking about music, but when it comes to telling you, oh, this artist sounds like, I'm not very good at that. So, I don't like to compare what I'm listening to something else that exists. I just like to, listen to it and enjoy it on its own merits. So, that's the one weakness in my reviews is, if I do tell you that something sounds like something else, it's probably not going to be very accurate, so don't take my word for it. But anyway, above all, you have to remember that I'm just a music fan. I'm not a music critic. I do this in my own time and on my own money, so what I review is going to be something that I'm probably going to like on some level. So that's another thing, is you're not going to hear very many negative reviews from me. The way I listen to things is basically Amazon, clips on Amazon or videos on YouTube. I don't subscribe to any streaming services like Pandora or Spotify, not for any particular reason. I just don't do streaming. I'm kind of old school that way. That's how I roll, yo. But anyway, so yeah, you won't hear very many negative reviews from me unless it just happens to be something that surprises me in a bad way. So anyway, I'll be reviewing 3, I think I told you, releases that I've picked up so far. But before I get into the reviews, I just want to show you some other miscellaneous, not new things that I've picked up recently. I've not had a chance to listen to any of them yet, but this one by Laura Nyro and LaBelle. It's a collection of Brill Building covers, and I've never bought anything by Laura Nyro or LaBelle before, so I'm really looking forward to listening to this thing and seeing what it's like. Yeah, I picked it up at my local store for $5, I think. And this one was kind of interesting when I saw it in the racks. This was in the $4 section. It's called The Beat Goes On, and it is basically a collection of stuff from basically groups that Rankin Roger and Dave Wakeling are part of. So as you can see here, English Beat, General Public, Fine Young Cannibals, and their solo stuff as well. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting listen, I'm sure. And this one, if Ben Simpson in the UK, if you're watching, this is the one that I was hinting at in a comment on one of your videos. The Kinks, the Complete Singles Collection, 1964 to 1970. It's a 2-disc jobby, and it's from Japan, so that's one thing that really kind of piqued my interest about it. There's the obi strip right there. I'm really not much more than passingly familiar with the Kinks stuff. I don't have any of their studio albums, although I enjoy their singles well enough that I really ought to start picking up their albums. But yeah, that was kind of cool to pick up. I'm really looking forward to listening to that. And this one here is the one I'm most happy to have. Dr. Demento's latest compilation, Dr. Demento Covered in Punk. And as you can see here, it is autographed by the Doctor and by John Cafiero, the producer of the compilation. I met them at Music Millennium up in Portland. This has been, a month ago, I guess. They were having a little Q&A and then a signing afterward where you could pick up the compilation and have them autograph it. It's very cool. It is songs made popular on the Dr. Demento show, covered by punk artists, which is I'm really looking forward to. I'm not much of a punk fan, but I grew up listening to the Dr. Demento show. I grew up down in Southern California. I listened to it live every Sunday night, so a big memento from my childhood, a demento memento from my childhood. So yeah, looking forward to listening to that one. Well, and now on to the reviews. This first one is the third album by American Idol winner Philip Phillips. It's called Collateral, and I actually did not know that this was released until I was up in Portland at Music Millennium for the Dr. Demento thing. Now, I was a fan of American Idol for like the second half of its run, basically, on Fox. But despite that, I mean, I've got several CDs by the various Idol winners and finalists, but I seldom make it to where I'm still enjoying an Idol's music by their third album. In fact, this is probably only the second Idol whose third album I own. American Idol, by the way. I have several International Idols albums, and I'll probably cover that subject in a future episode here. But yeah, you know, his first single, Home, which was you know, his coronation single on American Idol, it was a really good song, and you know, it was popular on the radio. But before you know it, half a dozen companies had licensed the song for use in commercials. So it was on the TV, it was on the radio, it was everywhere. And honestly, it takes a lot for me to get sick of a song, but I had gotten pretty sick of that song, so much so that I basically put his album on the shelf and didn't listen to it for probably close to 2 years until his sophomore album came out, and then, which reminded me of what a good artist he is. I liked his second album, but not as much as his first. So, you know, when I saw this on the racks, I hesitated for a minute, but just something told me to pick it up and give it a try. And it turns out my instinct was right. I enjoyed this. He's still really good at the kind of the blue-eyed soul pop sort of thing. And one good thing about this album is it's got a good mixture of upbeat songs and ballads. And although he does seem a little bit fond of the 3/4 time signature, the waltz beat. He uses that in most of the ballads on this album, so that gets a little tedious. But I mean, he's still good at what he does, really. The song "Don't Tell Me" has a saxophone in it, so that makes it kind of funky. It's got a good funky beat to it. "My Name" is another good upbeat song. A couple of the really good ballads are "I Dare You" and "Sandcastles," which happen to be back to back here in the middle. But yeah, and the one lousy song on here, though, actually is "Love Junkie." I mean, the instrumentation is great, but the lyrics are really boring. You know, it's just, you know, I'm a love junkie, yada yada. You know, the lyrics in that song just don't say much. What can I say? So, but yeah, it's a good album. And now I kind of debated on whether or not to give any kind of ratings for these albums, just because I think they're kind of, you know, ratings are kind of arbitrary and they don't say much. And, you know, I kind of let my words speak for themselves, but then I don't know if my words are all that great, frankly. But then I decided, okay, the rating I give is going to be on a scale of 0 to 100, based on how likely I am to keep this CD in my collection, you know, 5-10 years from now. And with Philip Phillips' Collateral, I'd say that's between 70 and 75. So it's a pretty good album, I have to say. Now, the second album I'm reviewing today is one that's gotten a lot of attention online. Some of it good, but more of it has been not so great. You know, not awful, but just, you know, very, very mixed reviews on this album. And that is the fifth album by Justin Timberlake, Man of the Woods. And I totally get a lot of the mixed and leaning negative reviews that said basically, you know, what is he trying to do with this album? Because, you know, the early buzz that he was putting out, that, you know, oh, it's going to have a lot of Americana influences on it, and hey, Chris Stapleton's on the album, so yeah, it's going to be really, you know, down home and harken back to my Tennessee roots, and, you know, and then of course the title, Man of the Woods. I mean, what are you going to expect? And then of course those singles came along, Filthy and Supplies. You know, and then of course that had a lot of us scratching our heads. Obviously, you know, these electronica things. You know, kind of like back in Future Sex Love Sounds and the 2020 Experience. I mean, it's all that really contemporary R&B stuff. So you know, you can really understand why everybody was saying, you know, what is he doing with this album? But, you know, and I wanted to wait before I reviewed this until it, you know, I had 2 or 3 chances to listen to it, let it, you know, to let it kind of sink in. And I have to say, it has grown on me. I wasn't quite as scratching my head about it as a lot of other people were, because I had read those reviews or heard those reviews ahead of time, so I kind of knew to expect weirdness in this album. But you know, I've got to say, it's a pretty good album. The song "Sauce," I really like that one. It's a little strange, but it's got an instrumental hook that is one of the best I've heard this year, honestly. And of course, you know, we're not at the end of February yet, so that's not saying much, but you know what I mean. But obviously, and the song "Flannel" is good. I like the, you know, the message of the lyrics and the feel of the song, although they made it sound kind of like an anthem, so that, you know, that kind of made it sound a little weird. But I mean, I like the song, but the melody, you know, despite the beat, which made it sound like an anthem, the melody of it is just very, very familiar sounding, and kind of like, you know, an old flannel shirt, you know, comfy like that. So yeah, that was a good song. But obviously the absolute standout track by far is "Say Something," the one featuring Chris Stapleton. It's just got a very Americana sound to it, and it almost gospel in a way. You know, the lyrics are not gospel, but just the sound of the song is just kind of very expansive and epic and kind of gospel-y, sort of, a little bit. But if the entire album had sounded a lot more like "Say Something," I think it would have been a contender for album of the year, and it would have gotten far, far better reviews, frankly. So you know, I was kind of hoping for, you know, something a little more, you know, more acoustic stuff, not quite as much of the electronic and contemporary R&B kind of stuff that he'd done, because we know he's good at that. I mean, it's like, you know, Justin, try something new maybe. So yeah, yeah, how would I score this? 65 to 70, probably 70. I mean, I don't see myself giving this up, you know, trading this in anytime soon at all. But yeah, good album. Okay, now the third album I'm reviewing today is it is their 5th album overall, but it's their first one on a major label, and it's the first exposure I've had to this group. So I don't know how this compares to the rest of their discography, but I've got to tell you, I am absolutely in love with this album. It is, I mean, when I heard the sound clips, I thought it was good, but it did not prepare me for how fantastic this album is. It's right up my alley. It is the latest album by Moon Taxi, Let the Record Play. And I don't know what it is about this album, and I think that's the albums that are the best, is when you like it, but you can't put your finger on why you like it. It's right up my alley. It's just great pop rock stuff. And again, it's got a good mix of ballads and upbeat songs. Moving to the City is a really good rocker. It's got a nice thick guitar sound. Nothing Can Keep Us Apart. That's another one. It's just plain good, you know. And No More Worry is just a beautiful ballad. It's just lovely. I mean, you know, it's just, like I said, it's like all the other songs on here. It's just, I don't know why I love it. I just love it. And then you've got a funky sax again with a saxophone on their single "Too High." That's just great. It just gives it a great funky little beat. And then you've got the Hammond B3 organ on the song called "Trouble," which gives it a fantastic blue-eyed soul vibe. I mean, just obviously, I can't say enough good things about this album. 95 out of 100 easily. I mean, my favorite album of 2018 so far. Again, you know, we're still in the middle of February, so that's not saying much, but you know, I absolutely love that album. So there's a good selection of albums for you to try if you haven't yet. So yeah, that's it for my new albums of 2018 so far. What's your favorite album of the year so far? Let me know in the comments, and please subscribe to my channel if you would. There's just the little red button right down there. Hit subscribe, and that's it. And again, thank you very much for watching, and remember, life's too short to be a music snob.